This is the final episode of our 6-part Humble Bee series. Today I reveal how I colored my honey icing, flood the cutest beehives, and make a honey char. Stay tuned till the end for a surprise segment. I am going to do something I haven't done before. This is the start of a cutout. Now technically it isn't a cutout. It's almost like a never was, but somehow I doubt that phraseology will catch on. I stole this tool from Cameraman. He used to make little clay figures for stop motion when he was like 8 years old. He's moved on to bigger and better things, like teaching me how to make videos and edit, and it's been years since he used his tools, so I commandeered them. I used my soft peak piping consistency here and I'm just scraping it flat. You don't really need a special tool. A brush or a flat edge of a knife would do nicely. I usually show you the very first cookie I decorate, but in this case, this was number 3. And I learned very quickly how much area I really need to cover and that I needed to place this black all the way to the edge of the cookie. Every time I see the honey-colored icing on the screen in this piping bag, I stop and stare. It's distracting for me. I love bright, bold colors, but this one is extra special. I'll tell you in a bit what it took to make this color. Maybe that's part of my appreciation. This hive cutter is part of the Semi-Sweet Designs platter that I purchased and 3D printed in part 1, Intro to Humble Bee. I'm using the same flooding and sections technique that I used to make the bees that go with the hives on the platter. This technique requires a lot of time because you need time between each section to allow the icing to crust over slightly so that when you flood up next to the crusted section, a neat little indented line remains to separate each section. I cannot imagine trying to flood this cookie in any other way. I now kind of wish I had tried flooding the whole thing all at once, just to compare. The bottom portion proved to be a little tricky to figure out because at this point, I'm only outlining around the top half of the opening I intend to leave. I could have outlined each section for the whole cookie all at once, but then that would cause my least favorite thing about cookie decorating to happen. You would be able to see the outline. Nothing is worse than that. Give me craters, cookie edges, and striations in my icing, but please don't let me see the outline. Let me show you the difference. These cookies are from part 4. The one on the left, a beautiful seamless edge. The one on the right, ugly. So I am trying my best to improve my skills and upgrade my technique to be able to, under all circumstances, make beautiful cookies sans outline. Little Hive Dude just spent 15 minutes in my dehydrator set at 95 degrees. You can tell by looking that the icing is crusted over because it no longer looks glossy and wet. This part is a bit awkward for me because I'm trying to flood right up against the edge without getting my hand right in the middle of the shot. I like to push out a large amount of icing against the edge. For me, it's the easiest way to get the nice seam. In case you haven't figured it out yet, I am using a 1 consistency outline and flood, which helps me to avoid the dreaded outline problem, since the outline and flood immediately melt right into each other. So then to complete the bottom section, I have to kind of match it up to the edge above. It isn't precision, but I think it came out fairly decent. Now back into the dehydrator for 15 more minutes. I don't usually show you my transitions, but I almost always use my scribe to move my cookie on and off of my decorating surface. I always use this cookie swivel. Mostly, it's so that I know exactly where I need to place my cookie to get it in the shot nicely. Sometimes I do need to swivel my cookie, but I do try to decorate without having to turn my cookie for 2 reasons. First, so that you don't have to watch that. It's not too bad in the situations where I'm showing you in real time what I did, or even if I bump it up to 2 times speed, because you wouldn't notice a difference anyway with my super slow decorating. But when I make these into shorts, I take them to 8 times speed. Less appealing to watch at that speed, for sure. The second reason is to encourage myself to not become dependent on the swivel and challenge myself to get better by getting scrappy. It's one of the reasons you may see me use both my right and left hands to pipe and scribe. So the swivel also comes in handy for moving my cookies around. It elevates my cookie, so I can use my scribe to push the cookie into my waiting hand instead of actually having to pick up my cookie. Now about this honey. I am using a soft peak piping consistency to apply this honey drip. Then I use my scribe to settle out the icing. Soft peak looks clumpy when you first apply it, but the smallest amount of agitation with the scribe remedies that problem. In all of the honey drips that I did in this entire series, I didn't have any cratering at all. And while I don't hate cratering, in fact, it doesn't even really make me sad, I do appreciate when I don't have craters. What would a beehive be without some bees on it? I have all of the different size transfers I made in my little container. I just take my piping consistency and glue these little guys on. I did learn something though days later. These transfers are susceptible to breakage. I think it's mainly because once I applied the icing, it lifted the bees up off of the surface just a bit, removing the support from under the wings. I'm not sure if this is something I just need to be aware of, or if there's something about my application technique or placement choice that may help mitigate this problem in the future. I did just watch a video this morning after I wrote this commentary that indicated that maybe because I use parchment, that it caused a little bit of rippling up onto my transfer, and maybe the transfer wasn't exactly flat. So that could be a factor as well. Side note about black icing. Eating black icing will turn your tongue blue. When I ate the bee on this cookie, I ended up with giraffe tongue, though it only lasted a couple of minutes. I thought you should be forewarned because sometimes black is just necessary in a design. All put together, this bee platter is super cute. Now for the honey colored icing. This is the only icing in this series that I started from scratch. I did this purposely. I wanted to be absolutely sure I knew exactly what I did to make this color. First, a bit of Anne Clark Lemon Yellow. Why it comes out looking orange is a complete mystery to me. To the yellow, I add some pumpkin orange, which comes out looking red. Does this not look so cool? My fresh icing is quite thick, so it actually heats me up as I mix. No joke, I started sweating. I prefer to use a spatula versus using a spoon to mix my icing so that I have the best chance of getting all of the white bits unstuck from my bowl and mixed in. I'm not sure if you can tell how thick that icing is, or if I'm making it look easy. There is a reason that coloring icing is usually a cookie decorator's least favorite thing to do. Unfortunately, it is a necessary evil. One of the reasons I love using this bowl is that I can see straight through it to check if I have gotten all of my icing incorporated in. Clearly, I have not. I love this color just as it is. But unfortunately, it is a bit too bright for what I want my honey color to be. Now let's be real here, people. In no way is this actually anywhere near what honey color really is. This is cartoon honey color. So to help tone down the color, I bust out my ivory gel. I went a little heavy-handed with the drops here because the other times I used this gel in this series, I didn't notice it making much of a change. Far less than what I was expecting. Now, admittedly, at this point, I have completely forgotten that I even have one other color that is vital to getting the honey color I'm trying to achieve. Luckily, eventually, I remember it. Mocha brown. Nope, that's not the secret ingredient. The ivory didn't seem to do much, so I'm attempting to get the tone down by adding this brown. There she is, Goldilocks. I have never used gold before, so I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm going to try a little trick that I saw Stephanie from the Little Cookie Co. demonstrate. She said to use the raised edge on the lid spout to poke a hole in the tamper-proof seal, since sometimes the seals can be a bit difficult to take off. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. It is much easier to get this off the traditional way. Good job sealing, Chef Master. In she goes. At this point, there is so much going on with this color, short of plopping in half a tube of black, I'm not sure we will be able to see much of a change. And I should tell you that what I see in person and what you see on the screen are not necessarily exactly the same. This is for a combination of reasons. 1, the camera doesn't pick up the lighting and colors as exact as it was at the time in person. I don't have any clue why this is, but it is. 2, that then requires any creator who does any editing with audience satisfaction in mind to correct the color. Now, at least for the home creator, working with an iPhone and free editing software like DaVinci Resolve, correcting the color isn't an exact science and is highly subjective to the person correcting the color. 3, the screen you watch this video on makes a difference in what colors you see. We have more than one monitor to do our editing, and the colors look slightly different depending on which screen I'm watching on. And 4, how you see colors can differ from how I see colors. If you have ever argued with a family member about whether something is blue or green, or pink or orange, you will know what I mean. You can see just how much effort is going into mixing this icing. I kinda look like a 5-year-old holding a big pencil. My hands are tired. I'm sure this isn't helping the carpal tunnel syndrome I have the pleasure of living with in both hands. This is why it's super important that I keep my hands stretched out whenever I decorate, or prepare for decorating. And to help thwart the onset of this unfortunate, partially debilitating annoyance, I recommend you too keep your hands and forearms well stretched. Though decorating clearly didn't cause my issue, that was car washing, it doesn't help. While I'm okay with the color I have going into the freezer, I know that the color will change a bit. I'm gonna keep my eye on this to see what happens over the next 24 to 48 hours. I'm back 48 hours later and I am not loving where this color went. When I look at these containers, all I see is gloppy, half-dried, cheap, Little League concession stand nacho cheese. Or Cheese Whiz. I guess if I ever need to make a nacho cheese color, I now know how to do it. So I have out my yellow, gold, and ivory, and I'm going to attempt to fix this problem. I guess there's no point in using mystery language here because you already know I fixed the problem. Can I just tell you how difficult it is to keep my tenses accurate? At commentary time, I actually made this icing 3 weeks ago. I'm always fighting the inclination to speak about doing this in the past. But for you, it's right now, and it seems like saying that what I am doing is more appropriate. There are so many things to keep in mind when creating these videos, and I love it. I often find myself smiling as I write the narrative for these videos. I hope that comes through. The secret ingredient is always love. In life, period. At a glance, it may not seem like much happened with the color, but honestly, in my eyes, there is enough of a difference to go from ew to wow. As I mentioned in our last episode, this jar is huge. It measures 4.5 by 2 3/4. I have actually had these cookies cut, baked, and in my freezer since May, when I did the first series with flowers, butterflies, and birds. Why? Because it intimidates me. And because it's so large, I'm concerned about flooding it all at once and being able to get the icing all settled with my scribe. So that is why I flood the lid area first. And you will see here that I do end up with a little indentation where the icings meet up. I am really struggling with getting this icing out. I have to use both of my hands to squeeze the bag. You see, I even lost control there for a minute. And no joke, I just checked the footage and it took me 4 full minutes to just flood this cookie. That is outrageous. Now, I did learn something very valuable here because it did not have to be this way. This is the very last cookie that I needed to flood in white. After I finished, I realized I should have just cut a bit off the tip of my bag, which would have allowed the icing to flow out much nicer. But hey, I really tested out the squeezability of these cheap Amazon tipless piping bags. Related to this issue is the fact that I clearly didn't put enough icing on the cookie, contributing to the ripply, cratery, uneven surface of the icing. Now to redeem this uneven surface by using the art of distraction. I'm using a soft peak piping for all of the details on this jar. As I lay down the pipe lines, you can see that I add almost an undetectable curve. This helps to promote the illusion of a removable screw-on lid. Taking the time to nip off the ends of the lines also helps to make it look like the lines are wrapping around the backside of the cookie. You can do this with it wet or once it has started to crust over, but you will achieve a slightly different look for each. Doing it while it's still wet gives the wraparound look. Doing it once it sets gives it a harsher end, which may be appropriate in some designs. I have to stop and tell you, I am so enjoying the weather coming through the window of the cave right now. It's the day after Labor Day, and in Southern California, we are used to full scorching sun with 100+ degree temperatures right now. But something's a brewing because instead, we have this amazing gray sky, a light drizzle, and it's only 82 degrees. I have on my favorite Spotify movie scores playlist, which right now is playing the original Mortal Kombat theme song. A light breeze greets me on the left, and my ceiling fan is helping to dry my hair from above. This is the perfect weather to get me in the mood for what I'll be doing over the next 8 hours or so. I will be decorating the cookies for my next series, Halloweenish. Here's a little preview of what's to come. I'm anticipating it to be a 7-part series. The premise of Halloweenish is that each episode I will decorate one cookie using a traditional Halloween shape and one shape from another time of the year. The theme is candy corn, so every cookie will have elements of yellow, orange, and white, and I will add black as appropriate. I am really challenging myself with this one. After the triumph of the improvement in my decorating over the last 2 series, Princess Chronicles and Humble Bee, I am feeling super ambitious and honestly, a little bit scared. One thing I don't have planned for Halloweenish is this. I did not include any writing elements. Writing is my unachievable unicorn. Okay, not really. I just haven't put much effort into it thus far. Still kicking that can down the road. Someday, I'll tackle that one. So with this here, what I didn't manage to get on camera with my side shot is my posture. Let me see if I can sorta kinda describe it to you. I have my torso super straight and I'm leaning on the edge of the table with my left arm anchored just under my sternum flat on the table to stabilize it so that my 2 fingers that I use to stop my bag from fire hosing all over the place are braced. This is in no way a passive position, which can happen while icing less complex things. Now, this may not look terribly complex, but for me, it is. I don't have a projector, so I must freehand any text I write. I am concentrating very hard on the height of my letters being consistent, as well as the space between letters, while maintaining a uniform look to each letter of my so-to-speak font. I have to tell you that I feel so accomplished having made this set of cookies. This is where my favorite saying, practice makes progress and progress propels, really shows its teeth. These aren't just fluffy words to sell you on a feel-good idea that has no backbone to it. These words are truth. Anything worth having is worth working for. I truly hope that you find something worth working for. Challenge and stretch yourself. I guarantee that at the finish line, you won't be sad you tried. In our next episode of Kuny's Cookie Chronicles, we are going a little off topic with an update of 6 months of being on YouTube. But right after that, we will be back for Halloweenish. I do hope you join us. Just like everything else, this takes me a good amount of time to complete. These 5 letters took me over 4 minutes. It isn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I am very satisfied with the end result. Now for our little surprise segment. A lot going on around here today for Kuny's Cookie Chronicles. I just finished opening up a delivery from the Sugar Art that I'm super excited to show you. Not in the next series, but the one after. And I am literally about to cut cookies for the next series, which is Halloweenish. But what do I have here? It looks disgusting, I'm sure. This is honey and garlic. So the date on this is June 10th, but this is not the June 10th that we had just a couple of months ago. We're at the end of August right now. It's August 26th. This is June 10th, 2024. And so what this is fermented garlic and honey.
Sounds disgusting.
It sounds disgusting, but I'm gonna try it. My understanding is that this is a medicinal thing. So since we're in the middle of the Humble Bee series, I thought right now would be a perfect time to try this out. If I don't finish the Humble Bee series, you'll know something very, very bad happened to me after I ate a piece of garlic from this jar.
Smells terrible.
Oh.
Let me smell.
Cameraman tried this yesterday. But of course we didn't get him on camera because he's not allowed to be on camera yet. It's amazing. It literally smells like garlic powder.
It does.
Now, I am a huge fan of garlic. Not a fan of garlic powder so much. But this is weird. This garlic is like...
You chose a fork, sissy.
Dark, almost like an amber color. I mean, yes, I used a fork.
I used a spoon.
Oh, you used a spoon?
Yeah.
Did you eat what was on the spoon? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, all right. Here we go. I'm gonna try this out. It is very chewy. Mm-hmm. And it's very sweet. Mm-hmm. As one might expect. Mm-hmm. I can still taste the garlic in it. It's not terrible. If I were sick and this was an option, I would choose this before I would choose something chemical. I'm not a big fan of pharmaceuticals or chemicals and whatnot. It's not the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life.
What?
But it's not the best either.
No.
Sorry, cameraman.
It's delicious. There's barely any garlic flavor.
Okay,
barely.
So let's recall. Wait, tell me, how does it sound? It sounds garlicky,
radioactive.
doesn't it? Sounds garlicky, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what you don't know. Cameraman has an incredible, unparalleled sense of hearing. Mm-hmm. I, on the other hand,
have an unparalleled sense of smell.
I have an unparalleled sense of smell. So, like, you know, if you've ever been pregnant, your sense of smell, like, ramps up. That's how I believe mine is normally. And then when I was pregnant, it was even worse. Thank you, oven, for letting me know that you're 375 degrees to receive the cookies I'm about to cut for Halloweenish. Anyway, I can definitely taste the garlic in it. He probably can't because he doesn't have the sense of smell that I have.
I do. I can
Your sense of smell is linked.
Hey.
That was weird. Your sense of smell is linked to your taste. So it's not terrible.
I can taste it, just not that much. And also the piece that you had may have been stronger than the piece that I had. So.
But you had more than one piece. I would have thought you would have had. So
I'm just saying.
Anyway, this is an option if you have ever watched any homesteading channels or fermenting videos or anything like that. I would recommend this. I mean, cameraman wasn't feeling too amazing yesterday, and not too long after he ate it, he felt just fine.
Yeah, it's like magic, except better. What?
Okay.
Next time on Kuny's Cookie Chronicles.
Most of what you hear against AI are people screaming and yelling at you. I do not find it at all effective to yell people into believing anything. AI is here. It's clearly not going anywhere. Nobody's going to be shutting the AIs down. It is so everywhere. I'm just gonna leave you hanging on the edge of the cliff for a while. Your brain is a muscle. You know you didn't put the work in. And when you use AI, you rob yourself of that.